having a ChaTea Talks with no other than Dom, the father of ICP and DFINITY. Thank you so much for coming and welcome to your baby stage.
Well, I mean, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been great so far, and this looks fantastic too. So.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to Bali. I understand it's your first time in Asia, in Indonesia in particular. Yeah,
it's my first time in Indonesia, and of course, so also my first time in Bali. I mean, it's funny because, you know, I know lots of people who go to Bali, people who live in Bali, and they always tell me how wonderful it is. Now I can see for myself.
Amazing. It feels like, especially this place where we are at Nuano, is like more like a Burning Man style, and
it is Burning Man style. Yeah, so I'm a burner. So yeah, it makes me wistful, but no, I appreciate it. It's amazing. I love the vibe. What a great place to have CoinFest.
Yeah, and what a great place also to have so many developers. I'm amazed the level of progress and the speed that these developers. We have over 150 developers building amazing things. They're amazing entrepreneurs, building so fast and easy using ICP technology, because you guys invented something that's very interesting. You implemented AI as education, but also automation system of how to speed up the process. I mean, fantastic. Can you tell us more about your approach, why you brought in AI in that particular step?
Yeah, so the vision is that, you know, the internet, the public network, does back-end compute. I mean, back-end compute is what runs all of the services that humanity depends on, whether that's a game, social media, an enterprise app, a sharing economy, just a simple information system, or of course an AI. So, you know, the vision is that, you know, our mission at DFINITY really is to try and get as much of the world's compute onto ICP technology, Internet Computer Protocol technology, as possible, because network resident code has huge advantages. And that wouldn't be complete, that vision wouldn't be complete if the internet computer couldn't run AI. Now, it's more challenging than it sounds, right? Because, you know, the internet computer is not centralized infrastructure, it's like the internet. The internet is created from decentralized hardware, you know, networking equipment, routers, links, and so on, owned by different people, different organizations, and that decentralized hardware is combined by a decentralized network protocol called IP, Internet Protocol, and that produces this permissionless global public network, which connects software. So, you know, it's what connects your web browser to a web server, it's what connects to Zoom clients to stream video so people can chat and so on. So that's what the internet does. So the internet computer vision is analogous, and it really just sort of tries to extend the internet. So the internet computer combines decentralized hardware. There are about 130 plus companies running node machine hardware, and then that's combined by the ICP decentralized protocol, Internet Computer Protocol, which creates this public serverless cloud which hosts network resident software and data. And that means, you know, it can host, like, you know, a social media site, enterprise app, or an AI. And there are lots of reasons why we think that this is the future and this is the way that humanity should build its information systems. For example, well, first of all, we believe that, you know, the foundations upon which society runs should be public. So that's why we think, you know, in the same way that the internet's public, the internet computer should provide a public compute utility. But the advanced mathematics that are applied, which you can use only when you have decentralized hardware combined by a protocol, those mathematics change the game, you know, and really advance what compute does, in the sense that, look, if you're going to build a web application on traditional IT, you're going to get an Amazon Web Services account, you're going to get a credit card, you're going to pay some money, you're going to install a database, a web server, you're going to
use so many different tools, and process is going to take out so much time.
Firewall. Right? Then if it's going to scale, you use Kubernetes to orchestrate everything. It's a very complex thing. Internet computer, how do you create a web application? You just upload some code to the network. Done. Think about cybersecurity. Like, cybersecurity is a nightmare for traditional IT. You try and protect it with a firewall, with anti-malware, intrusion monitoring software, and things like that. Well, it doesn't work. You can only really put your finger in the dike, and that's why there's like a cybercrime epidemic. I think it's estimated to cost the world $9.2 trillion this year. It's a lot of money, right?
Annually, yeah.
Yeah, and now, by contrast, when you create a web application by uploading code to the internet computer, you don't need a firewall, you don't need anti-malware.
And that's interesting. What you build, guys, with ICP, it actually has SSL embedded in the protocol, right?
Well, I mean, SSL is just a link security, so that means that makes the connection between you and the internet computer boundary node private. But it's the mathematics of the ICP protocol that make it tamper-proof and unstoppable, which means that when you create a web application on the internet computer or any ICP platform, it's immune to cyber attack. You don't need cybersecurity. So, if you think something like I talked about it earlier, open chat, it's like a sort of chat, messaging, social networking, social media, socialify service on the internet computer. And it has tokens inside, right? Because the users store tokens from multiple blockchains in their accounts, and they send these tokens in chat messages. Well, there's no cybersecurity protecting OpenChat. There's no firewall. There's no anti-intrusion software. There's no anti-malware. There's no security team, in fact. And it's never been hacked. And as you know, if you've got crypto inside something, you have all the worst hackers after you. Lazarus, North Korean guys want to get some.
Lazarus, we got you.
Yeah, so it's not like it's a very hostile, super hostile threat environment. And yet this thing runs without any cybersecurity. And this alone, just being able to run without cybersecurity, further simplifies creating web applications and maintaining them, but also solves this really pressing problem that humanity is facing, which is, we have how many billion people? I forget, 8, 9, something like that on the planet. You cannot support that many people without computerization. The only way that the population of Earth can be supported is if we have well-running computer systems. And increasingly, we depend on, computer services in our social lives, our business lives, work lives, for everything.
Every part of life, right.
So, it's incredibly important that these systems, these foundational systems life on Earth depends on, don't break. That means they shouldn't be hackable. Scalable, unhackable, unstoppable. These are our foundations. They support life on Earth, and they should be absolutely solid, even in the face of a limited nuclear war or something like that. Everything should keep running, and this is incredibly important. I mean, talking about things like nuclear war, increasingly we're storing our memories online. All of us have got photos on our phones and things like that, and we probably hope that these photos are available to the next generation and things like that. These foundations and the data associated with these foundations shouldn't disappear. It should never disappear. So,
what you're doing, you're storing them on the chain, ICP chain, and they're forever there, public and accessible.
Yeah. So, internet computer is much more complicated than a standard blockchain, obviously. But, if you're using OpenChat, when you're sending a chat message, that's being processed and stored probably on 13 different node machines in the world. Trading in Singapore, America, South Africa, Amsterdam, right? It's all over. And then, of course, that platform is created by ICP, which is running this advanced math. So, the network can withstand the loss of some of these nodes. It can withstand the loss of some internet links around the world. Even if, Dr. Evil, even if Lazarus gained physical control of these nodes, even if they gained physical control of these nodes, they still couldn't break, they still couldn't stop the thing working, they couldn't corrupt data, they couldn't corrupt computation. So these are the foundations that, global society needs. And as part of that, AI is going to be the most important, or at least one of the most important components of our computational stack. So we need AI to run with all the same properties that your normal web application code on the internet computer gets. It needs to be immune to cyber attack, unstoppable. You need to be able to put it under the control of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, if you want, and many other things. Yeah.
It's a fantastic foundation that ICP has built, and I can see that it's a type of a Web 4, I call it, because why? Well, let me explain this why. Bitcoin started, then Ethereum came, it got new smart contracts. So ICP has a really interesting way of how it works with smart contracts. Then there is a DAO. And then there's a really interesting way how DAO SNS works, that it can be used as a new way of ICO, as a new way of fundraise. And this whole foundation, using AI, allowing developers to build easily, I see as decentralized entrepreneurship. And that's why I call it Web 4, because you see so many people here in Indonesia, which is fourth largest country, with super young people having amazing projects built within 48 hours.
That's right. And
just on the stack.
And you know, they should have a route to funding. So, you know, funnily enough, you just heard me say route instead of route. Because I'm English, I should have said route. The fact that I said route to funding reflects the fact I was in Silicon Valley for 10 years. Why was I in Silicon Valley for 10 years? And there's lots of good things about Silicon Valley, but honestly, one of the reasons was funding. So, you know, I was an entrepreneur for, 2 decades in the UK. And, you know, it's very difficult to raise funding even for a good project, especially for the deeper, you know, some of the projects that might seem a little bit more unusual. And sometimes the investors that you would enlist, if you manage to get some, would do you more harm than good, right? So, you know, and Silicon Valley's benefited from these huge network effects because wealthy entrepreneurs reinvest and become VCs, and this is an incredible cycle. But the rest of the world needs a funding mechanism too. Like, and so, you know, one of my ambitions is like, there's a smart kid in the poorest country on earth, and he manages to get himself a smartphone. And just by acquiring a smartphone, he's able to create some hugely innovative new internet service that no one's ever thought of, that delights us in ways that we hadn't imagined. And these things, or maybe just, you know, create like an information system for his local community, whatever. But if he wants to create like something that can scale and can be a business, he should have a route to funding. He should have a shot, or she should have a shot, like, right? It should be girls too. Right. I mean, anyone, boy, girl, but particularly people from disadvantaged backgrounds, they should have a shot at becoming the next Mark Zuckerberg. So they need a way of, you know, connecting with other people that might want to collaborate. They need ways of funding the development work they're going to do. And they need ways of scaling that. And the decentralized ecosystem can do that. The problem was with, and you know, DFINITY came out of the early Ethereum ecosystem, and originally actually DFINITY was conceived as an Ethereum 3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So DFINITY Foundation, who is basically the founder of ICP, the main fuel that fuels most of the project, came from Ethereum, right?
Well, no, I mean, I was part of that community. I was working on, I was one of the first people, I was actually the first person working on how you repurpose traditional Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus math for the blockchain setting.
Okay.
And things like sharding and things like that back in 2014. So I used to talk to Ethereum folks, particularly Vitalik in the early days, things like that. And but there was a sort of divergence in, I think, you know, my vision was more expansive. I heard the word world computer. And my understanding of the word world computer, this is a fucking great idea. Of course we should have a world computer, right?
On the internet.
It's a no freaking brainer. We need a world computer. Everything should be built on a public world computer, of course. But, you know, Ethereum was more like, it was heading in the world pocket calculator direction. And I didn't want that. So back in 2015, you can find it on the Wayback Machine. I had a website, I think it's on DFINITY.io. And I started talking about, you know, it'd be possible to create a crypto ledger that, you know, you could run something like a search engine on, or the equivalent of Gmail. Not that anyone wanted to create the equivalent of Gmail now. And so my view was that in the end, everything will be built on blockchain, and there's really simple reasons for it. And the simple reasons, the fundamental simplicity is that smart contracts are a new kind of software. And they're a new kind of software with like huge advantages. So, I mean, they're tamper-proof. When you run a smart contract, it's guaranteed to run the code that's written against the correct data. Guaranteed. That means that you can create applications that are immune to cyber attack, notwithstanding the EVM's reentrancy issues and so on, but generally speaking. So, of course, we're going to need software that's immune to cyber attack. It's unstoppable. It always runs. You know, you can have some logic errors, but it always runs. It doesn't crash and need restarting. You can make it autonomous, which is what you need for DeFi, or if you want to put something under the control of a DAO, which you can only really do truly on the internet computer. You can fully automate stuff. Smart contracts are composable, so interoperability problems go away. It's It lives in cypherspace. It doesn't live in, some terrestrial location. So now you can create global financial rails. And
it's just like infinite
so many
possibilities. A
but,
playground for great entrepreneurs. But
yeah.
what's really important, what you mentioned was that global impact, that you're going over underrepresented and overlooked markets to provide funding potentially with ICP tokens. And something that's really interesting that I'm not sure if many people know, but how ICP works is it uses cycles, something called cycles.
It's like gas, basically.
It's gas. But the funny thing is that user doesn't pay gas. You know how Sol, for example, Solana got interested is it got very small transaction fees on like buying meme coins. What ICP does, it creates no fees whatsoever for a user, right? But
that's right.
It allows opportunity for a founder that you donate cycles so
totally.
They can create these computes, right?
And it's cheap enough, that even at a pretty large scale, you could have millions of developers, and you could be giving them a certain amount of cycles to get going for free. So there's no. It's not like Amazon Web Services where you have to sign up, go through KYC, have a credit card which also requires KYC, et cetera, et cetera. You just got to upload your code to this thing. But using faucets and things like that, because compute's so inexpensive on the internet computer, you can get some cycles and you can get going. And then once you go beyond that, I think we've reimagined decentralized funding. So obviously the ICO thing kind of went a bit wrong. It was successful, but it went wrong because there's a lot of fraud and bullshit projects.
Oh my gosh.
So the framework on the internet computers works in a very different way, in the sense that when people, you put your project under the control of a DAO, and it's possible on the internet computer, it's real control, and you can update your software through the DAO. So, people put proposals in for code updates, and if they're adopted, they get pushed into the actual code of the running web application, the running service. So, when you create something, and you put a proposal into the DAO that runs the internet computer called the network nervous system, you say you want to do this, and it will create a new thing called a service nervous system, an SNS.
Service nervous system.
And then all of the code and data that is what your web application comprises of.
It's going to be deployed once
it's assigned. Control is assigned to the SNS.
Yeah.
So now the DAO is in control. There's no backdoor. The developer has no direct control of the web application. The only way of updating the web application is to put proposals into the SNS, and if they're adopted, pushes them. Now, what happens then is you do the decentralization sale. But the proceeds of the decentralization sale aren't given to the developers. They stay inside the SNS. The developers benefit by typically having some of the tokens, of the governance tokens of the service nervous system. So if it succeeds, they can benefit. And in addition, they can put in proposals to that internet community that controls the web application. Hey, I need some money to survive, or hey, I want to hire some more team members to help me with this. And then if those proposals are adopted, then the DAO exports funds from its treasury into the wallet of the developer. But the developers can't rug pull, it's not possible.
Yeah, I think it's a very beautiful and honest way how to fundraise for it. And what I see that is like the first truly decentralized fundraise or a community to have. It's like that's like true decentralized entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, look, decentralization needs to be about opening things up. So one of the reasons the internet succeeded actually was because it's a decentralized protocol. Anybody could extend the internet. Now, the internet does have a monetization model. A lot of people aren't aware what it is. The monetization model of the internet is peering agreements. So when you, for example, at home, you got a Wi-Fi router. Well, you can connect to Wi-Fi, but you haven't got internet. So to get internet, you have to go to an ISP and pay them for a connection. And that's a peering relationship. Now, the ISP will also have peering relationships. They will peer with other ISPs and backbone providers, and they pay for those connections too. So, but the great thing about the internet was that anybody could be an ISP, and so it kind of grew very fast, and its capacity grew very fast, and it continues to grow very fast because it's a system of open entry, it's permissionless. So that model applies, of course, to the internet computer in the sense that anybody can become a node provider. They have to go to the network nervous system, get a node provider ID and do various things, a bit like you do with ICANN, but it's still permissionless. But also, the purpose of decentralization is to make other things open to all. So, if you think about the world economy, and so much of it is tech now, well, that should also be open. Why should it just be people in Silicon? Yeah. So why should it just be people in Silicon Valley that have access to funding? Doesn't make any sense. And especially when you consider that there's like 8 or 9 billion people in the world, how many of those people are, number one, talented engineers, user experience people, entrepreneurs, or whatever? They're super talented, but they don't live in Silicon Valley. So those people need a way to succeed too. They need a route to success.
Open system that can vote for those best talents too.
Yeah, so in the end, you have to get rid of gatekeepers. So you need decentralized governance, and you need these kind of rails. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And that's what we spend a lot of time at DFINITY, helping engineer. And you can see it working. And I think recently one of the other exciting things I saw in the last few weeks is there's a new SNS that's been created. And it's called ICVC, Internet Computer VC. Internet Computer Venture Capitalist. So it's in some ways inspired by the DAO on Ethereum. If you remember back in 2016, there was this thing called the DAO. It got hacked, unfortunately, it went wrong. But the idea was that, you have a community DAO and it's going to invest in community projects.
So you basically have LPs in a VC fund that then votes automatically. Everything is transparent.
You can have, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are effectively LPs in this thing.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have very sophisticated governance. So the service nervous system and the network nervous system use a kind of some delegated voting system. So you create what's known as a voting neuron by staking some tokens, and there's a minimum time those things are staked for. You can't unlock them for a certain amount of time. And that, if you control the neuron, you can make it vote on proposals. But if you haven't got the time to vote on every proposal, you make your neuron follow someone else's neuron who you trust. Like, I trust that guy on technical matters, so I'm going to configure my neuron to follow that person. And now, when that person votes, my neuron votes the same way. Or you can maybe do it after a delay, so you have if you don't vote in a few hours, then it votes automatically. So it's not just a matter of creating DAOs, it's also thinking about how do you design algorithmic, decentralized digital governance in a way that produces good decisions. And the ultimate proof, of course, is the internet computer itself. The internet computer is fully decentralized, nobody controls it. It runs under the control of something called the network nervous system. And it is hundreds of thousands of people, I think, participating in that thing. Anybody can put a proposal in. You can put a proposal into the network nervous system that is a bit of code that will delete all the data on all the node machines in the network. You can put a proposal in saying, hey, Mr. Internet Computer, self-destruct, effectively.
Self-destruct, oh my God.
But it's fine.
I'm so excited to see what's going to come up.
It'll never get passed. That proposal will never get passed. The Internet Computer will never... And that's because of the governance, the algorithms.
Structure. I'm so excited to see what the future is going to bring, but what is, from your point of view, what are you really excited about? Where ICP is heading? Where do you see the next big step?
Well, I think just generally speaking, the technology is becoming much more mature. I think that, it's been very difficult in this space communicating what it does because people are so used to traditional blockchains and they've been told that this kind of stuff isn't possible. The reality is it is possible. I'm one of the sort of original degens, if you like, or crypto theorists in the crypto space, and we have huge teams of people working on this for. This is the sum of 10 years of work, and in fact, the Internet Computer represents more than 1,000 person years of R&D. So I think a lot of people they just see blockchains as things that store tokens and bits of DeFi logic, and when you try and explain the Internet Computer, it's too much of a leap. So, it's this thing an AI token, right? Which, if you go to the AI page on CoinMarketCap, there's 380 tokens. Not a single one of them involves AI running on the blockchain. Internet Computer runs AI. It's the only blockchain in the world that can run AI, and it's not on that page.
It's also multi-chain, right?
And
so
it's multi-chain.
I heard now, it's you'll be able to, let's say, connect Solana tokens and other tokens into the multi-chain.
Yeah, so I think Schnorr is happening. It's either already happened or it's about to happen.
Yeah.
So you need Schnorr for Solana, so that is imminent. I think probably people are already integrating that into the multi-chain social-fi kind of things running on the internet computer. But it also, acts as a kind of, sort of like a layer 2 in a way for Bitcoin, Ether, ERC20. So on OpenChat, I mentioned, it's the first open internet service. You can send Bitcoin in a chat message in 1 second, so long as you converted it to chain key Bitcoin first. So, internet computer does a lot of things in a very different ways, brings a lot to the table, and we're still racing ahead. So I think AI is going to be super huge on the internet computer.
I love it, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you about Web4, which I call, yeah. But what we do here is like we drink tea, and after we drink tea, you choose your question.
Cool, okay.
And it's just your last question, just a quick one.
Do I choose it before or after the tea?
Yes, you can drink it up, bottoms up. Yeah, this is a chatty question.
I need some caffeine.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Bloody hell. The funny thing is when you're an entrepreneur, the first thing you should realize when you're an entrepreneur, you receive a lot of very bad advice. So you got to be careful of that. What is the best advice? Gosh. I think I've got my own advice, which is synthesized from learning and other people's advice. So, I couldn't tell you exactly, but I could tell you, some of my best advice for an entrepreneur. And it's the amalgam of lots of bits of advice and personal learnings. One is, it's a lot easier to surf a wave than to paddle out, which basically means, look for the emerging opportunities and where things are going to change and grow. Because where things are already established, it's going to be kind of things that have been solidified, and it'll be difficult to make progress. You'll be sort of wading through a quagmire. That's one. Try and do things that are new. Another one would be take risks. Don't focus on things that seem to be less risky. As an entrepreneur, generally speaking, whatever you do, you've got a high rate of failure. I've failed so many times, over and over again, sometimes in the most horrible ways. So, if that's going to happen to you, at least make sure that when things succeed, they succeed in a reasonably good way, right? And sometimes, so high risk, high reward, focus on high risk, high reward. Sometimes it's hard to see, but the lower risk things are a higher risk in reality. What else? Oh yeah, fail fast. Yeah. Don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy. When something's broken and you're stuck and it's completely broken, you put loads of your personal time and energy into it, your money into it maybe, it's over, just move on. Because, success partly comes from just keeping going and just keeping building and trying lots of different things and being relentless. So that's probably it, yeah.
I've been told that you're a busy man and you've been talking on many stages here in CoinFest. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and then innovating and bringing humanity to the whole new level. So I really appreciate you, man. And
yeah, thank you for having
so
me.
Much.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned for the CoinFest ICP stage, Startup Grind, and ChaTea Talks. See you soon.